Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome over to the casting panel here at the ASUS ROG DreamLeague Season 3 with myself, Pixel, and of course Draskell. We're ready to get ourselves into the first game of the first series today between the sides of aSpera and Team Tinkerino and Draskell. So far, at least, the bans pretty much what we come to expect in this patch.
Yeah, more or less. Out of anything, I guess the PL is the one that you don't see as much, but the Wisp, the Troll, the Sniper, I mean, come on, it's 6.83. The last couple of days of the ho-ho, ha-ha era before iceFrog will just...
It's true.
He's going to murder the hero so that it's never seen again.
I mean, do you think it has literally been murdered, Sniper, as into the sense that we won't see it?
I don't think it's as bad as people are going to think it is, but that's also the beauty of iceFrog balance, right? He nerfs a hero enough to where people start ignoring it, so it's not picked in pubs all the time, and people stop complaining about it, even though the nerfs, while significant, might not be enough to take it completely out of competitive play. But yeah, I think it's a significant nerf for sure. Like, the shrapnel changes are pretty bad. Like a 1.4 second delay as opposed to 0.8 when the shrapnel is first cast and when it actually hits the ground.
And the vision
not
delays.
giving vision immediately as well. It gives you opportunities to juke the spell, whereas before it was very difficult and you pretty much got hit every single time. But back towards the draft, Team Tinker, they're opening up with Qualifier hero. I think it's kind of expected. Qualifier is a phenomenal player. You want to open up by giving him not only a versatile hero, but anything that he gets that he's good with, you're on a good track.
Absolutely, yeah. Queen of Pain opening up. They're going to be very happy that they've managed to snag that for their team. And Zeus and Beastmaster are going to be the choices for aSpera. So
vision strat, man.
I guess, yeah, the vision is certainly going to be there with the old Ultimate and the Beastmaster Hawk. And also, with these heroes picked up, I guess there's some kind of versatility in the sense we could see Zeus in the mid or the support. And you could see Beastmaster in the mid or even in the offlane.
There's some wiggle room. The thing that you want to avoid in this game is having the Beastmaster versus the Queen in any sense. That's the terrible matchup. That's one lane I think that aSpera are going to be looking at it and going, okay, let's try to not have this happen. But if you're expecting Team Tinker to pick Night Stalker coming into this matchup, then these are two really nice ways to try to counteract the lack of vision that you would have. So we were talking about on the couch, perhaps banning out Night Stalker in the first two, but just having the ability of taking that away from them by having two heroes who just give you vision and not having to worry about necessarily taking the hero out is also a way to deal with it. But as we see Chen picked up here, I'm pretty sure that's going to be Wei2's hero, so I doubt we'll be seeing Night Stalker this game.
Okay, so I mean, Chen, I guess obviously very different to Night Stalker, but still a hero that allows you to kind of go for the early game aggression with the rotations and the ganks. And if this Zeus and Beastmaster are to be two cores, they're very gankable heroes.
They are. I mean, neither of them have an escape. So if the Chen gets a good loop around with his creeps, or they smoke up and they have one other halfway decent support, it's going to be pretty much a kill. And Team Tinker already banning out the AA. Obviously, this is great if you think the enemy team is going to be going a global strategy. Zeus ulti and AA ulti and a Beastmaster Hawk. You can scout people out. You can get picks very easily. You can also deep-push very well with just having the Zeus, the Beastmaster, and the AA. Also, it counteracts Chen ulti. So tons of reasons right there to just ban out the AA. Counters a team in multiple ways. Okay, so more bans coming out from Team Tinker. Phoenix also, just in terms of team fight, very tough to deal with. Queen and Chen, not really the quickest BKB rushers I've ever seen. And against the Chen creeps, Fire Spirits can be incredibly potent and being able to deep-push as well. So it seems like Team Tinker are really looking to try to get at least some kind of momentum going earlier on in the game, rather than waiting it out. And as aSpera have banned out Axe, I would even go as far as to say Axe would have benefited their lineup almost as well as Team Tinker's. And I feel like they have the first pick out of the phase. The only issue with it is that it might weaken their lanes. That's the one thing. Because with just seeing a Queen and a Chen, you haven't seen any other laners yet, so you don't know if your Axe is going to get a good lane, so that could be a reason why they banned it out.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying about the Axe being good against the Chen. I believe it was yesterday in the play that we saw in the recap where the Axe made that massive call as Chen was coming in with the army and, of course, two heroes by his side. And it wasn't great. There was a lot of spins to be had in that situation. On top of the Axe ban, they're going to follow it up with the Venge ban. I guess one of those supports who can very well hold a lane on her own, in the sense that you're going to have the Chen in the jungle. You aren't going to be able to have two supports babysitting your position one, and Venge could have done that job pretty well on her own.
Yeah, Venge is fantastic, especially if you are playing Beastmaster. Like, just being able to swap out of Aurora and also going with a Skywrath, that kind of solidifies why the ban was necessary.
Yeah.
If we talk about like the Morphling Skywrath combo that we've been seeing, Beastmaster kind of does the same thing. Like, his stun duration is almost as long at level 16 as the Adaptive Strike is. Now, granted, it's an ultimate, and it takes a lot longer for that to cool down than 10 seconds of Adaptive Strike. And I'm actually pretty sure Adaptive Strike is a longer range until you have Aghanims. Maybe we should change that. But yeah, the combo's still there. So Roar into Mystic Flare is a dead hero most of the time, unless you have like the Chen heal and the mech to back it up. So the pick potential here from aSpera is already pretty powerful.
Indeed it is. And third pick now for the side of Team Marino, Tinkerino. I mean, do you feel that at this point they're going to kind of leave their position 1 until later on in the draft? Are they just going to look for the extra support and the offlaner now? What do you think is going through their minds at this stage of the draft?
It's kind of hard to say still. I mean, they have kind of an all-around draft right now. They have decent laners. They also have the ability to push because of BM. And then, you know, if they want to pick up something else after the fact to add to the push, like anything really works at this point. And then for Team Tinker, they have a Chen. So as soon as I see Chen, I always think the same thing. I think early aggression, right? And they pick up the Witch Doctor. Great pairing with Chen in of itself. You get the guaranteed stun, more or less. And Maldict can be fantastic, partnered with burst heroes like Queen. So you're going to be able to kill heroes very quickly. And as of right now, aSpera are very gankable heroes. Even if Beastmaster and Skywrath are relatively quick in terms of base movement speed, they don't get away from ganks. Like, if you get ganked, you're dead. And a Beastmaster, maybe once he hits 6, you can throw out like a counter roar or something like that and then try to run. But for Zeus and Sky, it is mostly certain death. So I think aSpera are looking more towards really controlling the early laning phase and having great vision to try to get them through the early mid game, because it's very easy for a lineup that Team Tinker has to try to snowball with a Chen and just the Queen gathering momentum, and eventually it becomes too much because Queen scales much better than she used to. Yes. So it's not like before where you might be able to get a BKB up on your core and start to fight into the Queen because she has that period where she doesn't do any damage. But now her ulti pierces spell immunity, so the burst is still there. You got to be worried about that all the time.
That's true indeed. And quite interesting enough, actually, we were talking about the Venge ban. Obviously, a hero that you do ban against a lot of teams, but Way 2 in particular on Team Arena, Tinkerino, it's his most played hero.
Yeah.
About 77 games, I believe, 56% win rate. So they've very much got a reason to ban it and be scared of that. Lycan's going to get picked up, and I mean, we're talking about the push capability. Lycan Beastmaster, they're going to be taking towers.
Yeah, those buildings are going to be going MIA. I would imagine this Beastmaster is probably going to be picking up bots at some point. You can bot to Lycan Wolves, and they're invisible, so you can actually set up like really cool ganks with that, a Zeus ulti. And imagine if they had the capability of picking AA. How awesome that draft would have been, right? They would have been able to get some really disgusting map control just by, if you're alone, you could just be dead. Like if a wolf's following you around and you don't know. But either way, I still think the Lycan pick fits pretty well here. The only concern that I have is the early laning phase, again, because Lycan is not a terribly weak laner as a melee hero. He's strength, he's got really good base damage. His armor isn't too bad, but it's more along the lines of, we got 2 melee. If the Beastmaster is not actually a core, then we're going to have potentially like Zeus mid, like Lycan safe lane. Or I don't think he would put Lycan mid against Queen. It just seems too one-sided. Like, I think the Lycan would just get destroyed. So they're probably going to be committing quite a bit to protecting him here, which means that I guess the last pick for aSpera could be another support. And then Team Tinker, they're going to have their off-lane Shaker, at least what it looks like right now. A mid-queen, and they're saving Black's hero for last pick. So I think aSpera have a chance here, but they have to not give away a lot during the laning phase. And if the Shaker eventually comes into his Blink Dagger, things can get really ugly for aSpera as well.
I mean, yeah, talking about the Shaker pick, is obviously one of those heroes that's very good at stopping a push.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're going to need to be doing up against aSpera's lineup. I mean, now with this final ban from the side of aSpera, would you kind of feel that Team Marino, Tinkerino could be considering in this position 1 role, kind of seeing what's come out?
Yeah, I was going to say Black's AM is actually not too bad here.
Yeah.
Just because they only really have like 2 ways of dealing with it, the BM Roar and the Sky. So that's going to be the ban out, but there's still a lot of heroes that you can take in this situation. I would even say Like anything with decent laning is good, because the one thing that you don't want to run into is having a lane that you simply can't win. And it seems like Team Tinker are going to be picking one of the less self-sufficient cores, as they've banned out Brood. If they're going to do offlane Shaker with Chen and Witch Doctor, and aSpera were able to get their hands on a Brood, it would have thrown a huge wrench in their plan, because the Chen and the Witch Doctor would have to commit almost all their time to sitting around the safe lane and making sure that whatever hero they were going to pick for black could actually farm. So by taking that out, I think it's a really safe choice for Team Tinker to make themselves not feel obligated to stay in the top side of the map. And that also means that they're assuming that the Beastmaster is probably going to be in a support capacity, or the Zeus will be a support. Ooh. And it's going to be an Enigma pick here, so there's some heavy push.
There's a lot of push here.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Enigma picked up as well, obviously taking into account the fact that Team Reno, Tinkerino are going to have a Chen in the jungle, so they say, hey, if you're going to have a jungler, we're going to try it out ourselves. And I mean, the Enigma jungle, kind of in comparison to the Chen jungle, I kind of feel the Chen is going to be able to make rotations earlier and could look to kind of contest Enigma's farm in his own jungle, potentially.
Yeah, but it's risky to do that, because if Enigma has any help at all, like if the Skywrath is nearby and there's like a concussive shot, you could just die to Eidolon damage. Like Enigma is very hard to contest, because if he already has his conversions out and maybe even they double spawn, for example, it can be a real nuisance. But Team Tinker going with the Naga Siren. So that to me says that they're actually scared of the push. Like when you pick Naga, you're saying we need Song to stop the push, and we also need to try to delay the game as long as we can to where our cores can get enough items to do what we need. Like they're gonna put Queen with Black apparently. No, they gotta switch.
Swap that, aren't
they? I think they're gonna swap. That seems weird to me.
I'd be surprised if they leave it as Black, Quap, and Quake for Naga. I would be very surprised.
Yeah,
I think we saw Team Tinker do this before, though. They like to do the little bit of switchery.
Yeah, they're pulling a fast one.
Yeah, they are.
But I'm just curious to see if the Beastmaster or the Zeus are going to be the supports. Like, which of the two are going to be supporting? Because Sky is pretty much a support.
Yes.
Unless, I mean, we haven't seen Sky mid in a long time, but I guess it is possible. Just not as likely in this patch.
And against a Quap mid, it wouldn't...
No, it would actually do good against Quap. Like,
well,
Zeus and Sky would both do okay, and Sky is one of the only heroes who can trade Harass with a Queen, because your concussive, or your Arcane Bolt is what you trade with. You don't trade with auto attacks,
But aren't you just so squishy?
You are squishy. You don't have any base armor. But, I mean, all of their heroes are going to be in the same shoes. Like, all three of them are gankable. Sky, Zeus, and Beastmaster. But of the three, Sky is the fastest hero.
Okay.
So he can walk away. Not saying that it matters. Like, if he gets caught, he's dead. Just like any other hero that they would put mid. But it was just some theorizing. Maybe they could do something a little bit different.
Well, as we get ourselves into the first game of the day, let's see what does come out in terms of the lanes. We've got aSpera up against the side of Team Reno, Tinkerino. Over on the side of the Die, then Team Tinker, we've got Pylai Die. He's going to be on the Witch Doctor. You're going to be seeing Black on the Quap, and yeah, it's going to be Black on the Quap. And it is going to be Qualifier on the Naga Siren. They're not switching around. Pink Panda will be on the Chen, and finally on your offlane, you're going to have Flow on the Earthshaker. So, well, we'll talk about that, a little bit of a role switch around in a minute, but Draskell, he's with me by my side, and he's going to let us know what's on the side of the Radiant.
All right, so we got the Apathy. He's going to be playing on the Lycan. Next to him is going to be Captain Love. He's playing on the Skywrath Mage. We're going to have Smiley playing on the Enigma Iceberg. He's going to be handling the Zeus, and then last but not least, we got Jaco. Is it Zako or Jaco? I don't know how to say it properly, but he's playing the Beastmaster.
Indeed. And so yeah, Black on the Queen of Pain, Quake on the Naga Siren.
It's a bit interesting. Come to think of it, I've never really seen him play Naga Siren before. Like, he plays all the other hard farmers, but I don't actually think I've seen him play Naga.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess that makes sense in a way. It just seemed a little bit off, because Quake's Queen is amazing. It was actually less that I didn't think that Quake could play Naga, is I thought that Black is not as good as Quake's Queen. Like, that's the way that I thought of it when I saw the two people take the heroes. But if they feel comfortable, then far be it for me to judge. We'll see how it works out for them.
See, both mids, both the Queen of Pain and the Zeus are able to secure themselves the bounty rune, and both sides will have teammates blocking up the mid lane for them as well. And looks like Chen did slightly better job, yeah, with Black following that up. Black should have a nice little positional advantage here in the lane as the creeps do meet up. So, in terms of draft, as we go in, aSpera looking for the early game, I kind of feel, and is it, if it goes late, well, there's a bit of a silly question, they've got a Naga Siren, it's not looking good for aSpera if it goes late.
Yeah, it's really annoying to try to break base against Naga Siren Song, and Pylai Die is just getting the beat down here from Zako. He's just going ham with the boar. The new boar does quite a bit of damage, but you can't get too overconfident. Even a level 1 Maledict can hurt if you take that much damage, so I guess in the end, The Beastmaster slightly winning the trade only because of the fact that he has a lot of regen, but he does need to be careful. He's just pushing his limits because he realizes that Pylai Dai, only being level 1, doesn't have that concoction available.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the lanes, how their favorite side, Zeus and Quap in the mid lane. You were saying Zeus a bit like the Scarth, a hero that matches up okay and is still going to be able to find the CS and the farm against this queen.
Yeah, it's not really easy to shut down a Zeus in lane. Like, Arc Lightning is always going to be able to find any kind of farm that you're going to need. I'm surprised they actually, well, after the Enigma pick, it's not surprising that they put Zeus mid, but there was some possibilities to run it as a support, and Black committing here to a little bit of harass in the middle lane. He's got some good trading going on. He realizes that he's low on mana, and it's really hard for him to spam Arc in that situation, but he will eventually be forced out too.
Bottom lane, Float exchanging hits here with Captain Love on the Scarth, and Float will have to back up. He's only got himself a couple of tangos, so we'll have to hang back for a little bit in this lane. And looking at our two kind of position ones so far, you've got 8 CS on the Lycan, Naga has got 8 as well. Both offlaners, both the Earthshaker and the Beastmaster respectively, I mean, who's going to have the better time at kind of shutting down the carries farm?
Well, the Shaker is the more stable hero, I would say, of the two. Even if Zako can get level 6, which I think his lane is technically easier until they start getting a handful of levels, or the Chen makes one rotation. Like, that's going to be the point where the Beastmaster could die. But killing the Shaker is not really the goal, I think, of aSpera. It's more just trying to push the offlane tower as fast as you can. Because Enigma rotations aren't nearly as strong as Chen's for the first probably like 10 minutes of the game. Like, the Enigma just wants to do his own thing and farm a mech. He doesn't want to have to come to lane at all. So in that sense, I think aSpera are fine with it, because they're going to go from like no activity to just steamrolling tier 1 towers. So I just think that it's not really about stopping the safe lane or farm. It's more about when does their lineup come online and when are they going to start trying to make stuff happen. Because Team Tinker are going to have to be the ones either forcing really early rotations and trying to kill their offlaner and get something going, or they're going to be reacting to what aSpera are doing all game, because their push is just so strong that it demands attention. And Team Tinker's push isn't that good in comparison to a Lycan Enigma.
Top lane, the bounces between the Boar and the Beastmaster here. And Qualifier comes in with a quick little spin, and he's going to make the Beastmaster back up. I mean, we're talking about how there's going to be this point where aSpera get ready to kind of get the action on and get the push going, as we kind of expect to get towards the mid-game. If there is kind of like a 5-on-5 engagement at that point, is it aSpera that is going to come out on top if they go aggressive?
It really depends on how the fight is executed. Sam is being a bit cheeky here, taking some of the CS away from Enigma, and just being able to soak like that doesn't seem like a big deal. But delaying Enigma 6 and even delaying him getting like 5 for the 3rd point in the conversions, that significantly slows his jungle speed. So it's nice that he's making the most out of his time here and even waiting for the bottom rune too. Just nice offlane play coming out from him, and he's even going to block off from the rune, but he keeps misclicking, so he's actually not going to be able to get it.
Coming in with the Ancient Seal in the Arcane, but Zeus is out of mana. Isn't going to be able to contribute anything to that bit of aggression. But still 4 minutes in, and no one to fall as of yet. It's, I mean, we've seen a little bit kind of exchange of damage coming out from both sides, but no one really been in a position yet that's kind of too on the edge. And we are going to have a quick pause here, unfortunately, from Qualifier. But, I mean, looking at the two junglers, Chen, he's level 4, and what's he got coming out to him on the courier? He must have something of some kind of substance. He's got the boots and the Ring of Regen, and if we look over to the Enigma in relation to that, he's also halfway for level 4, and he's got the Soul Ring, 400 gold to boot as well. So, I mean, you were saying, in terms of jungling, you really kind of expect the Chen to be much more mobile earlier on than the Enigma.
The Chen is the one who kind of has to move.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't gank the offlaner successfully at least one time as a Chen, I would say your early game has kind of failed, or maybe even gank the mid. Like, a Queen and a Chen can easily kill a Zeus, and a Chen plus 2 disables can easily kill a Beastmaster. So it's all about your timing and understanding when the Chen gank is coming for aSpera to be able to avoid it. But it's very hard, because sometimes he comes from behind a tower, sometimes he comes from the lane, you just don't really know. So in Zako's case, I think it's actually more likely for him to die than the Zeus, because Iceberg can stand in a very defensive posture in mid. All he has to do is stand on his own high ground and zap creeps. And it's very, very hard for the Chen to get in a good spot. And he's also potentially running into an Enigma. As of right now, Team Tinker don't have any vision of the woods where he would normally be, except for the normal ward spot where you are putting in that ward for your offlaner. So there's a lot of things that Team Tinker can try to do during the early game, but they're still out farming, which is nice. Like, the Chen has more CS than the Enigma, because I think the Shaker was still being a little bit annoying to him. It's just a matter of aSpera are going to hit their timing, where that Enigma has mech, and Lycan has Howl, and they're going to start running into towers, and that is damn scary, because the deep push from Tinker it's not bad, but it's not great either. So we'll see what they can do.
Okay, and I mean, say it does go late, and I mean, we get to the 30-minute mark, and aSpera, they haven't been yet able to take down tier 2s. I mean, is there any hope for aSpera in the late game against the Naga?
There's always hope when you have things like Enigma.
Well, they just have to look for the rat.
I mean, you can rat, or you can look for trying to get like a good smoke. Like getting Roshan, I think, is very important for aSpera as well. Like their team composition really needs those tier 1s, and they need Roshan, because when that happens, it becomes really hard for Team Tinker to fight into you. Like even with Queen, that Queen is never in 1,000 years going to want to blink into that lineup. He's going to look at those heroes and be like, Skywrath, Zeus, Beastmaster Roar, Enigma, I don't want to blink in. So what hero really is supposed to lead the charge for Team Tinker, right? That's what makes you kind of think, okay, fighting might not be their game plan. Maybe they just want to go for some ganks during the lanes, play it a bit passive during the mid game, try to get their Naga Siren to a point where she is that force to be reckoned with, and she becomes the rat for the whole team. And then you can just play based off how she plays. But aSpera, I would actually say, have a pretty sizable advantage for just like straight up pushing and fighting for like maybe like 15-20 minutes into the game.
We'll have to see if they're able to harness that to their best capabilities. And I mean, talking about the Qual, what kind of item build would you expect to see come out? Is he going to go aggressive and go for something like the straight up Orchid? Did you feel in a game with heroes like the Skywrath, he's got to think about getting that Yules kind of early?
There's a lot of benefits to every build. I would even say Rush Ags isn't bad, because you have 40-second cooldown on your ulti. And if you can single-handedly deep push without your team having to come over there,
that's the push over.
That's great. You know, that's actually really nice. But the Yules is also really great, because you mentioned the silence coming out from the Skywrath, but that also depends on your own play. Okay. I think if you are just very aware of your surroundings, you should really never be in a spot where you get silenced and that ends up being your death. Because you're going to also want to silence heroes like Witch Doctor and even the Naga Siren when she gets post 6. So I don't know if a Yules is 100% necessary, and I think that Ags is not only something to give you some tankiness, but as a way to deep push is a great option here. Orchid's obviously good too. Let's just say Dota is a complicated game, and there's a lot of reasons why you could buy every single item.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, 4.5 minutes in, 33 CS on this Lycan. He has got the Vlads already, so we are going to start seeing him farm even more safe, in the sense that he's going to be able to back off into the jungle when the Enigma's not around, and take a bit of the jungle counts for himself. Enigma, what's he got now? He's got 627 gold. Is this a game where the Enigma will just go for the straight up mech, or can he afford to go for something like the Blink Dagger earlier on, or is that going to be unlikely?
I think mech is kind of necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, like when you have both teams who want to try to make something happen, mech is one of the best items, especially if you're in aSpera's position. You have Lycan, you have Enigma, you have Beastmaster Aura as well. If you don't have a mech, it just feels like you're taking away from your team's real goal, which is steamroll buildings and then try to take Roche. Like having a Vlad's already on top of that, like the kind of 5-man potential they're going to have is just completely insane.
Mid lane, we do see on the side of Team Tinker both Pylite and Pink Panther hanging around under the cover of the smoke, trying to get a look in. They're still going to be undetected under the cover of night. There aren't any Radiant wards around this top rune spot, so they're going to be alright to hang around. We do see Jaco on this Beastmaster head towards the mid lane, and Zeus has got the backup currently of both the Skywrath and the Enigma. They're very aware that the side of Team Tinkerino have left the top lane for the most of it. Pylite die. Might find himself the Beastmaster here. They are going to walk into each other. The ping's coming out. They're going to be able to respond to this anyway. That looks like Qualifier and Pink Panther will be consistent in the pushing and just look to hammer down onto the tier 1. Jaco on the Beastmaster will keep his distance. Doesn't want to get too close to this, but all in all, the rotation from the side of Team Tinkerino not achieving anything of any major substance, but they will get a fair bit of damage to tier 1. Now the Paralyzing Cast, looking for the bounces onto the Beastmaster. They find the ensnare. Captain Love on the Skywraths here to back up the BM. BM starts to walk, and the Thunder God's Wrath coming down actually before Qualifier can get off the... well, he does get it off, but it's not in time to save the Witch Doctor, but it wouldn't have anyway, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's your first blood. Witch Doctor goes down.
The Zip Zap, pretty powerful stuff, and I think he had gotten 6 pretty recently when they decided to go for that pseudo dive onto the Beastmaster. So I was thinking that would probably be their target, just because of the offlane tier 1 being very attractive for a Chen to try to kill, because he's not going to always farm faster than Enigma. For the early part of the game, he did. But as time goes on, the Enigma will eventually surpass you in farming capabilities. And once he gets his mech, he's going to start doing the same thing. So the emphasis, I feel, was on Team Tinker to try to make their Chen ganks become useful. But they defend the tier 1. They don't even get it to half HP. So Team Tinker not really starting off the way that they wanted to. But I will also say that Lycan TP'd for that, which was not optimal.
Okay, and I mean, off the back of Lycan TPing, they've switched it around for the time being. Enigma's just looking to soak up the XP from this bottom lane, whilst Lycan makes his way back through the jungle, farming up those jungle camps as he goes. Mid lane, Black getting fairly low, has got a couple of bottle charges to keep himself topped up. 7.5 minutes in though, Zeus is going to be happy with that first bludgeon. Okay, boots and 1k gold in the back. Still a few hundred gold behind Black on his Quap. His Quap on 3.8k at this moment in time. aSpera on the Zeus will be able to grab himself the 8-minute rune at the top. And Qualifier far. How's he doing? He's got 1,300 gold now on top of the Aquila. And I mean, I guess this game, as pretty much with any other Naga game, he's going to be going straight for that Radiance.
Yeah, he needs Radiance for sure. The faster he gets it, the more impact it's going to have. It not only increases your farm rate, but makes pushing in a single lane not as good of a tactic, because you're always going to have 2 other lanes where Qualifier is going to be constantly pushing them out with illusions. There's a lot of people out there who would say that sometimes it can be a bit of a detriment to have a Radiance Naga as Roar in the top lane.
Okay, Bonar, Ancient Seal coming through with the Thunder God's Wrath. A fair bit of damage going down onto Qualifier. He's going to try and run. A Hand of God will keep him topped up. Jacko's trying to take chase this down. The Beastmaster. In comes Enigma. He doesn't have enough mana for the Black Hole. Pops down the mana to Pink Panda. And with the Arcade Bolt flying through and the right clicks with Jacko, can they bring him down even through the Voodoo Restoration? They do find themselves another kill. But the tower does go down. Was it denied here, by the way?
No, it wasn't denied. Way 2
wasn't denied. Way 2 got the tower. But they do lose a Chen. So, I guess more gold for the Naga in the sense that they get the tower and they keep her alive, but they do lose a hero off the back of it.
It's okay, but it was sloppy. Like, when he was saving his Chen heal to make sure, like, he was trying to bait them into overcommitting on Qualifier, I guess, because he didn't have Song. He used it previously in the engagement top where they ended up giving away First Blood, and he just got, I think, kind of frustrated. He's like, you know what, I'm going to kill a tower, because he didn't have to die there at all. And I don't think the tower was necessarily in deny range either. I think he just left his creeps on it for so long that he eventually said, I need to commit to make sure that I get this because it's more important than my own life. And that logic, I kind of agree. But it's still not the best start for Team Tinker. They always have the Naga to fall back on, though, which is nice. I just think that aSpera are going to be hitting their timing window within the next, like, 5 or 6 minutes. And you're going to start seeing some death balls, and it's going to be really, really hard for Team Tinker to stop that.
Okay, I mean, Beastmaster stocking up the gold at the moment, 1,500, 1,600 gold in the bank. Is he going straight for the blink? Are we just going to see him pick up a Necro? What do you reckon Jacko's thinking this game?
I think Necro lends itself to the style of play that they're looking for, but then they would also lack an initiator. So maybe he just goes blink, because a blink initiation and a free kill kind of means that you kill the tower, you know? Like, sometimes if you have Necro Book or a mech on your team, even with the Vlads, there might be enough deep push from the enemy team to stop you from just getting the tower, or it might get denied. But if you kill a hero before the push starts, then you're guaranteed to get the tower like 90% of the time. So maybe he just opts for the blink and then wants to try to go for more of a pick-off play.
There's a smoke up here from the side of aSpera, seeing if they can find anyone. Naga has already backed up. We do see Chen heading into the mid lane and next towards, of course, Black on this Quap. So they're not going to be able to find anyone as of yet with the smoke. They'll continue to rotate towards the mid lane as the smoke has now worn off. And maybe they can try and get a jump here onto Black on the Queen of Pain. Jacko does have the Roar, and he'll go in now. Ancient Seal into the Roar. In come the Axes as well. Do they have the damage to bring him down? Yes, they do with the Thunder God's Wrath. They find a kill on the Queen of Pain Black. And now 3-0 for the side of aSpera. It's looking very good. One maybe kind of questionable item choice. 10 minutes in, 11 minutes. In fact, Zeus has got a Midas.
Yeah, that one's a little bit weird. I don't know if they're expecting the game just to go later because of the Naga, but that also kind of says that you're not as confident in being able to take all the outer tier towers. So I'm not sure if it's just a contingency plan or if they're really feeling like, okay, our push will eventually be thwarted, because they got a pick there. It was a pretty heavy commitment. They get the queen kill, which is a high priority target, but they don't really apply any real pressure to the tower because Team Tinker were kind of already there. So even though they get the pick on Black, they weren't really able to deal any meaningful damage. And that pick is like not really worth anything in the grand scheme of things, like comparative to what they really want to do. So I don't know. I still think that aSpera have yet to really accomplish their primary goal, and Midas could just be them preparing for the inevitability of the Naga.
Okay, well, we're going to see a little bit of aggression being forced here by the sound of Team Tinker as Pilot, Pink Panda and Black coming through. They're going to find the Apathy. Pops the ultimate. Will be held in place though by the Fisher and the Paralyzed Cusk. Actually trapped in the tree line here, but Pilot dying. He's going to go down first. Echo Slam from Flo holding the Apathy in place, and the Apathy will go down. Pink Panda now in the retreat pops the Hand of God. Now, other side of aSpera going to be able to find anyone else off the back of this. They look for Pink Pandas. The Lightning Bolt comes down. The Boss, I believe, still chasing down this Chen. In fact, it was the Wolf. Here comes the final Arcane Bot. That should be enough to bring the Chen down, and it is indeed. That's the Chen falling down as well. Black, he's continuing to fight with the ultimate, does pick off the Enigma, and now he turns and he's going to find the Scarith there as well. Also, Jacko chasing down Flo here with the Boar Slow. Is there anyone here to help Flo? There's Pylidai coming in, and they'll be able to turn it around with the bounce there onto the Hawk, and the Maledict Black coming in to help clean it up as well. Again, a very messy fight, but it comes out very well for Team Tinker.
That was really terrible for aSpera. Like, they dumped everything into that Lycan to kill him, which I would have said if the fight ended there and they traded 1-for-1 with Bulba having used Echo and Hand of God being used, I'd be like, all right, yeah, okay, that's fine. You lost your Lycan, but they used a lot to kill him. But this entire time, Quake's been farming. He's up to 3,400 gold at 13 minutes. He's closing in on his Relic. And those types of team fights hurt aSpera so much more than a normal composition because they need to get map control. Like, that's what their lineup functions around. You use the Beastmaster Hawk to try to go for picks. You use your Enigma and your Lycan to push in. But what happens if Quakefa gets his Radiance at like 17 or 18 minutes? And you have a Zeus with a Midas who can't even really spam that much. Now, it does make their late game better because the Zeus has a Midas, sure, but I don't really think the game plan is ever let's go late against Naga. Like, nobody wants to do that.
I mean, say we do see the 17 or 18 minute Radiance on Naga. Is there still a way that aSpera... I mean, that's going to look pretty bad for the side as a whole if Naga does get a decent timing on the Radiance.
It's going to be really tough for aSpera to come back from that kind of timing. Like, the Beastmaster has Blink, which is good, but they desperately need to make sure they have the proper vision up, and this freshly placed ward is just going to get smacked down by Pylidai as it's dropped, and stuff like that really is painful on top of everything else, because they're not going to be able to get Roshan without the tier 1 towers being dead. And without vision, it becomes a lot harder to fight in general. So their lineup, I feel, is very dependent on the next like 10 minutes going well for them, and I don't really see how it's going to happen unless they get a really good gank and start like snowballing up power kills.
I was going to say, talking about Talkers, we're 14.5 minutes in. They've actually lost the tier 1, and they haven't been able to take a tier 1. A team with a Lycan, a Beastmaster, and an Enigma. Yeah,
but this is the timing when they really start coming online, because at the beginning of the game, the Chen's going to have more mobility than what an Enigma has, because the Enigma wants to focus on getting his mech and getting his levels. But the Lycan now has his max points into Wolves. He's got his Treads, he's got his Medallion and his Vlad, so he can potentially sneak Roche. He's just trying to rely on his team to create some space for him, so maybe he can either do that or he can start pushing. Because this Enigma right now has not done anything for his team yet, and he's also still looking to finish his own mechanism. So the item timings are not quite as succinct as you would want them to be for this style of lineup. Like, they want to already have dealt some kind of damage. And that team fight bottom where they lose like 3 heroes for nothing, that was extremely painful. And even having to go as far as trading towers as opposed to just pushing them in. I mean, like, trading this tier 1, they might not even get it.
They're going to give it their best shot here in the mid lane, and they did give a bit of harassment here to Quakefa. But Quake was fine, and of course after that first hurdle of the Relic, he's going to be very happy with how far it's gotten. Oh, Black just blinks forward, picks off the Beastmaster, will get caught out by the Ancient Skeleton. He's stuck in the Midnight Pulse. Hand of God's not going to be enough to save him. The Queen of Pain does go down. Now we see the Apathy turning back towards the tower, looking to claim this tier 1. But Flo might be able to deny it here. There's going to be a roll from Jacko onto Quakefa. Quakefa held in place. Echo Slam will catch both Jacko and the Apathy, but it's not going to be enough to turn it around. They've lost 2 heroes, both the Queen of Pain and the Naga dying here. They're going to, well, the Wolves chase down Flo, but they're not going to look to pursue it anymore as aSpera do back up.
Wait, he didn't get that deny?
I thought he was going to get the deny on the tower, but he didn't, no.
Yeah, Bulba didn't. I was like, he enchanted for the deny, and I was like, wow, he's got this, but really nice turnaround from aSpera.
Yeah.
They punish Black for the greedy blink, like I was mentioning earlier. Blinking into that team, pretty damn terrifying, especially when the Beastmaster has his own blink dagger. They get the tier 1, they get Roche. That's exactly the kind of fight that aSpera were looking for. They get a high priority tower. They also get a ton of extra gold and experience from the fight. They killed Quakefa before he got his Radiance. Now he has his Relic, so the death wasn't as bad, but just still killing him before the Radiance is done is very nice. So they desperately needed that. Is it enough? I'm kind of hesitant to say yes, because I still think that they need to do more.
I mean, obviously, the inevitability is that Qualifier is going to have his Radiance online. I mean, do you just look to go very heavy on the top lane, trying to shut down that tier 1 and tier 2? Do you look to ward up the Naga's jungle? What can you kind of do in this situation to deal with a Naga that is always going to be looking to farm at a pretty scary rate?
The first thing to always remember is the Naga is still killable, even with a Radiance. It's not that the Radiance makes her scary in the sense of being able to like tank up a fight and go like do stuff. It's more like now we have to deal with the nuisance of trying to worry about pushing our lanes out constantly. But every other item that she gets on top of Radiance, she becomes increasingly annoying. And if she gets Manta style, for example, and then she has bots, the Skywrath Mage is no longer a guaranteed kill on her. Then you need Beastmaster +1. And that means that you have to commit more heroes to killing the Naga as the game goes on.
Lycan popping the ult here, going straight in for the tower, looking to find it, gets caught out by a Fissure and a Maledict. We've got Flo moving in with the Death Ward. I think Lycan's in a lot of trouble. He does, of course, have that Aegis, and he's going to need it as he does pop the first time. He's coming back for round 2. Flo moving in here, looking for the Enchant Totem Stun. Isn't going to quite find it. Midnight Pulse gets thrown down by Smiley, and it looks like the Apathy will be able to get away here. They don't have anything else to chase it down.
Nice.
Jacko there with a combination of Thundergod's Wrath, finding the kill onto Black on the Queen of Pain. And
does he just go Ags?
8-5. And what's he got at the moment? 1,300 gold saved up?
He might go book after.
Yeah, I mean, so far they've already got the book on the Lycan, so a secondary book is going to be fairly nice indeed for these pushes. But I mean, 8-5, arguably not going as amazingly as it could have for aSpera, but against Team Tinker, they're certainly doing a good job.
They're finding some really important picks. Killing Black 3 times now, that's huge. I think the Orchid pick is... I understand why you get it. Another way to stop the Black Hole, a way to silence up the Beastmaster if he tries to blink in, or even be able to gank the Lycan prior to BKB. There's a lot of good reasons why you would want the Orchid, but if he had an Aghanims instead of an Orchid, he probably wouldn't have died mid.
Okay.
And he probably wouldn't have died bottom either, because he would have just had so much more survivability. So I don't know if Orchid is really the best option, but it does give you some farming capability, and some good like silences in a team fight can kind of do well for you. I'm not sure. I think with the way that they're playing it out, they don't need an impact item. They just need to tank up and be able to fight when aSpera come knocking at their towers.
I mean, Flo does, of course, have the Earthshaker Blink Dagger online. He had about 17 minutes, so the timing's not too bad there. And it's definitely one of those items that's going to really help in these kind of counter-push initiations with the amount of, well, units that are going to be sent in by, of course, the Lycan and the Beastmaster. Top lane, the push starts to come through, and they do manage to take the tier 1 here as well. So they've taken all the tier 1s off the side of the map of Team Tinker, but Team Tinker themselves, they've taken 2 tier 1s, and they're putting a little bit of pressure here onto the bottom lane tier 2.
Yeah, this is a nice move from Team Tinker. If I was in aSpera's shoes, I would just keep pushing, because it's very obvious what Team Tinker are doing. They're just going all in on the tier 2. If they haven't revealed the Shaker Blink yet, like obviously we know he has it, but if the other team doesn't know that Bulba has Blink, they have a really good opportunity to go for a turnaround fight, because they've killed the tier 2 tower first, and they pop Glyph. So unless this Blink Dagger is scouted, there's an opportunity for a big Echo coming in.
Oh, indeed, Bulba is looking for it. This is very nice. Oh, but the actual Blink from Jacko to dodge the Echo Slam. Very nice. No one goes down to the Echo Slam, and Flo, he might even tick out. If Voodoo Restoration keeps him alive just...
How did no one die?
I mean, the Jacko kind of Blink swap there with the Earthshaker was very nice indeed, and it just wasn't enough.
That was a really, like, it was a huge opportunity for Team Tinker to establish, like, you de-push your lane, you win a really big fight, you get, like, 2 kills there, ideally, because you would have landed the Echo on the Beastmaster and the Lycan together. And that would have resulted in just a huge momentum swing in your favor. Now, missing it, yeah, that was painful for Tinker to not get anything, but they've shown the Blink. It doesn't really take anything away from Quake's farm, but not being able to get those 2 kills is kind of, it's not great.
Apathy coming out a little bit here. Black is in the neighborhood and does have the ultimate. In goes with the Orchid. There's your dagger. The Scream's going to be actually out of range, but now with Flo coming in and the Sonic Wave, there's no way that Lycan gets out of that, and he will be down for a good amount of time here. And yeah, the Necro units, they're just doing what they can to zap away at Black, and looking to deny themselves there to try and stop him from getting the gold, but he still gets the gold. And yeah, 8-6, and the nasty little pick off there for Black onto the Lycan, especially seeing as Black hasn't really been having the best of games so far.
Yeah, middle lane as well. That is a dead Zeus. Good lord.
especially with the Radiance burn on top of the Maledict. Icebergs, yeah.
Oh, the mech?
But the illusion chases him down. Naga will find it there with a final Riptide. And that's 2 heroes down on the side of aSpera. Nice bit of action happening for the side of Team Tinker on the bottom and in the mid lane.
Things looking pretty solid for Tinker at the moment. The Naga is starting to pull ahead of the Lycan in a pretty significant manner. We saw him pick up bots earlier as well, so now Qualifier has the opportunity to become the rat that he's always wanted to be, at least on this hero, maybe not on anything else. And that's also a huge thing, because sometimes you don't have a tower to DP to counter push, but the bots not only make your illusions faster, so you can push the lanes out further, but it also allows you to be able to go anywhere on the map, as opposed to only being able to take specific routes when the enemy team is pressuring you. So the bot pickup is pretty huge. He'll likely go into Yasha and then maybe Manta style. That's a typical item progression for your Naga player. If he gets Manta up and aSpera still haven't dealt significant damage, I feel like the game is going to be slipping away from them very quickly.
So Xhaka and Captain Love, they look for a bit of an aggressive smoke into the dire jungle. They didn't find the Naga as she backed up. Ooh, blinking forward, they're trying to find Black, but Black will blink away in time to not be caught out by the raw cast animation. And he will be able to keep himself safe. Qualifier, yep, as you said, that's the Yasha. 450 gold on top of that as well. It's certainly getting to the point where you've got to ask yourself, are aSpera going to be able to slow down the Naga at this point?
It's really, really hard. The Shaker is a really key pick here for Tinker, and the Naga last pick, the synergy between the two is fantastic. Because you can either defend with Song, you can just counter push with a Naga, and when you go high ground against Shaker and Witch Doctor, it's actually crazy hard. Because one good Echo, just boom, fight over.
Oh, Echo Slam and Orchid there into the Sonic Wave, blowing up Xhaka on the Beastmaster, who walks straight under the Observer Ward, and he was looking for an initiation of himself, but he actually gets that turned around onto him, and now with the Screen of Pain and the Enchant Totem, they're proccing the passive to stop the TP. That's going to be a double kill there for the side of Team Tinker, and a very nice Observer there in the Radiant Jungle, setting that all up.
Yeah, that ward has actually gotten them, I want to say, like 3 kills now. Maybe 2. I don't know. It could have been 3, but Team Tinker just outplaying right now. Their lineup is built to go into the later stages of the game, even with Chen, just because of how good Naga is and how scary that hero can be as the game stretches on. But aSpera had some really nice opportunities to make stuff happen with their particular lineup as well. Like I think it was just their heroes came online too late in comparison to what they wanted. And then one team fight where they end up losing like 3 or 4 heroes, that drastically changes the impact of some of your heroes like Enigma or maybe even your Lycan in terms of pushing potential. Because even though they have the tier 1s down, they're still behind in towers against Tinker. And that's just because of being outmaneuvered. It's because of giving away kills that you shouldn't be able to give away on this type of lineup. And there's not really too many more errors they can make if they want to win.
And Pylai die. Looks like he was in a bit of the middle of nowhere down there on the Radiant side of the map.
Yeah, you know, maybe he just wanted to explore. He had a ward in his inventory, so I'm assuming he wanted to maybe try to lane where the hill is on the bottom lane, because it's a pretty common spot to drop one, but he already had one in the woods either way. They actually have 2.
Oh, here we go. With the Lycan ult, Dire's courier has gone down. And well, Chen will be able to get himself wet. Sorry, if we look at the Scarf, was that the gem that they bought? Pylai didn't just feed them a gem, did he? Sorry, if we got on Scarf, that is...
No, it's their gem.
It is their gem, I was going to say.
Yeah,
it was just
they dewarded as soon as they picked it up.
Yeah.
So they won't find the other ward that's in their woods, but they found the one near the magic bush, so... Yeah, it's tough. I mean, this Zeus is really farmed. I would say the Iceberg is... He's had a pretty solid game. Unfortunate that he died to the Naga Siren illusion earlier, because I thought he was going to live after the low ground mech from the Enigma, but he dropped. It's just that his impact isn't enough. And
Echo slamming in snare here, holding Lycan in place. There's the final Enchant Totem to bring him down. Qualifier does get Ancient sealed up. There's an Enigma and a Scarf coming through. The burst damage will be enough. Brings the Naga Siren down. Scarf does lose his life as well. Gem, it hits the deck. Flow coming in onto Xhaka with the backup of Black and Pylai die. They find themselves another kill here. 4 heroes going down the side of aSpera. They do lose the Naga Siren, but I think Team Tinker are going to be very happy with that engagement.
Yeah, I think this game is already kind of out of hand for aSpera. The problem with these lineups is Iceberg's going to be just TPing away here casually from Black. You cannot lose fights. Like, that's really the hardest part. The Naga pick for Tinker kind of secured that if aSpera made any mistakes with this style of lineup, you just lose the game. You can't go high ground, ever. Can't go high ground against Naga, Shaker, Witch Doctor, and Queen especially now with the Aghanims picked up. There's too much D-push. The Shaker ulti is too scary. You don't all have like enough initiation to be able to catch every hero that you need. So like the perfect initiation would be killing the Naga and the Shaker before you go high ground. How in the heck are they supposed to do that? Like, it's really, really difficult.
Bit of an ordeal, yeah, for aSpera to get themselves through if they want to pull this one back. 27 minutes in, 13-10. Team Tinker now, of course, taking the Roshan and the Aegis. It's coming up to about a 7,500 net worth lead for the side of the Dire. And in terms of XP, it's hitting the 4K mark. So a real big bit of a swing. And if we were on the grass, as we saw, there was a period where aSpera did have the lead, but now that's long but gone. And I mean, with the lineup, is there any chance that aSpera can bring it back round to that point of the game?
If Apathy gets his BKB, they could potentially go for a fight. But my biggest concern is that they'll be able to take out one of the cores of Team Tinker with relative ease because of Roar plus Silence and then Skywrath ulti. But I don't think that you're ever going to get a decent black hole. I'm fairly certain that Smiley has not used his ulti one time this game.
I don't think we've seen it now.
And it's 30 minutes in. Now, I understand the whole, it's the threat of the black hole, but at some point, something's got to give. You need to be able to get an ulti off on your Enigma. So maybe once he finishes up his own BKB, we could be seeing a decent power spike for the side of aSpera. But is that enough? Maybe. Because he's going to need BKB and Blink if he wants to be able to get into a position for a really great ulti.
Oh, they do find a roll onto Qualifier, and with the Ancient Seal and the Mystic Flare, that will be enough to bring down the Naga Siren. So, I mean, if they want it, you know, that was pretty much the best kind of pick-off that they could find.
Yeah, killing him is great. He does have buyback, though. So if they push into the tier 2, they might sack this and just say, well, they might not even have to. With Black having an Aegis and his ulti up in 5 seconds, they probably just fight. Even 4v5, I think they would still fight this.
Ancient Seal onto Pylight Die. They find the Fissure onto Captain Lovin with the Orchid damage and the burst from Black. They should be able to bring him down. He does tick down to the Soul Burn. Now Black taking a bit of damage from the Zeus. Will go down, but of course has the Aegis. Death Ward goes onto Zeus. Zeus will Bloodstone Suicide, and Lycan, he's diving, trying to find the Chen. Does find it, but can he get himself back out of there? Float finds the Fissure. Now Apathy with the Orchid level that's on his face, and Black with the daggers will bring him down. It is a 3-for-2 trade. The Lycan dives. He gets a Chen, but ends up throwing away his own life.
Nah, not even close to worth. I mean, they get the Aegis. That's not enough. You can't have your Lycan base diving. I think they're kind of feeling a little bit frustrated that they weren't able to do more with their team composition, because at this stage, they should have had a huge amount of control. Like, they should have had the tier 2s dead. Like, they should have had Roshan control. Black should have never been able to get an Aegis in the first place. There's a lot of things for them that went wrong.
I mean, the Enigma does now have a BKB complete, and in terms of cancelling the black hole, it's only the Ensnare that can, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only Ensnare.
So that's nice.
Yeah, but he still doesn't have a way of getting into black hole. Like, he has to hope that there's a Roar, but the Roar is supposed to be a guaranteed kill on that hero, right? So what they did to Qualifier in the woods, that's one of their combos to kill, is the Roar into the Mystic Flare. But they need another way to get the Enigma into the fight. Like, he needs a Blink, or he needs like a Force Staff or something, because no one's just going to let an Enigma waddle up and get a black hole off when he's BKB'd. It's not happening. Especially with Team Tinker's lineup, they have the kind of heroes who are typically not going to be grouped. And by not grouped, I mean literally Qualifier probably won't even be there at the start of the fight. So you're going to have to look for him first, then pick him, then try to push.
Going to be very close to each other here as Flo. He's going to get blocked up actually by the Lycan walls and trapped in the trees here. Will be able to get himself out now. But now both teams very well aware that of the whereabouts of each other. Now a TP back to the mid lane from the Jaco Beastmaster. He has got the Roar available. All ultimates are up apart from the Echo Slam on the side of Team Tinkerinos. Just going to kind of hold it here and look to see who makes the first jump. Eidolon's just coming up, being sent out to the high ground. Qualifier just continuing to farm the Radiance jungle, and the farm is still looking very scary on this Naga Siren. 17,500 gold. You're coming up to 17,000 on your Queen of Pain. I mean, the closest on the side of the Radiant is the 14,000 on your Zeus with the Midas. And you do have 13,500 on a Lycan, but at this point, Well, here we go. Lycan getting caught out by the Orchid, by the Sonic Wave. The right clicks will bring him down with a final burn ticking over from Black. Death Ward in the mid lane. Pilot Eye gonna scale with the rest of the team. Blink forward from Iceberg will find the kill onto Chen. Black with this Invis Rune trying to chase down more. Flow going in on the Zeus will bring him down. It's a 2-for-1 so far. Make that a 3-for-1 as Black finds himself a double kill as he takes down the Skyreth Mage as well. It's just looking worse and worse for the side of aSpera.
I would actually say that aSpera have like a 1 in 10 chance of winning this game, pretty much. The only way they win is they have to kill Qualifier twice in a row, okay? Because he'll probably have buyback, and the next time they can even try to pick him off, and he is a heart. So he's got 2,600 health, Manta, Radiance, bots.
Oh, Enigma in a lot of trouble. We'll put the BKB, but I mean, that's your BKB usage.
There's like nothing they can do, honestly. Their lineup required very, very good execution and being able to just mow down all the outer tier towers, take map control, take Roshan, go high ground, win the game. Like their lineup needed to go like boom, 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 objective, objective, objective. But I think what ended up happening is the Enigma came online too late and the Lycan didn't have a BKB for some of the earlier engagements. And maybe they overemphasized trying to fight instead of just focusing on farming their Enigma to get the core items that they needed to just push straight up. Because delaying the Enigma's jungle by even a couple of minutes is all the time in the world for a Naga who has 0 lane pressure. Like no one did anything to Qualifier except for the first time they went for a dive. That was the time where he actually got ganked. But that death wasn't really as impactful as it needed to be. And when he died again mid, he already bought his relic, so he lost almost no money. So Qualifier has had a very stellar farm game. And when you're doing that, and you're not, like you have that Qualifier Naga farming and you're not getting anything, like it's painful to watch, because I understand the position that aSpera are in very well. People have played against Naga before. It's that looming sense of, we have no way to really kill him anymore. And we know that they're continuing to farm more of the map than we are, but we don't want to give up because we think we can win still. And with the Zeus refresher, maybe they can try to make something happen in terms of a team fight.
They're certainly going to need to make something happen fairly soon. 34 minutes in, the net worths are just getting bigger and bigger in terms of the difference between the two cores on the side of the Radiant and the side of the Dire. It's in about over a 6,000 gold difference between both sides on both of the respective heroes. It's not looking pretty, and as you said, about 1 in 10 chance of winning. It's kind of relying on Team Tinker messing up at this point.
Yeah, the high ground is going to be kind of hard for Tinker to break because they have to use illusion spam. They don't really have a great hero at just hitting a tower. I guess Queen can do it, as Black has an insane amount of net worth. He's actually worth more, like the same as a Naga. So that's actually impressive that he's managed to keep up that level of farm. But yeah, going high ground will be tough. They'll find a Earthshaker here in the side of the woods. The old Roar Skywrath combo getting some kills, almost taking out the Skywrath with just the illusion of the Naga Siren. But yeah, I mean, even getting those picks, like, what does it really do? You're always going to have Naga Siren illusions pushing out the lane, and since he has Heart, we talked about how the Radiance itself isn't really the problem. It starts off a series of events that become harder and harder to deal with as time goes on. Each item that the Naga gets after the Radiance is the problem. The Manta prevents a Skywrath from being able to kill her alone, and then you need 2 or 3 heroes to take her out. And then the Heart means that you need 3 or 4 heroes to take her out. And you don't have that kind of firepower. Like, you can't just keep committing 4 heroes to killing the Naga. And sometimes it probably wouldn't even work. You'd have to, like, roar into Black Hole with damage dealers there to kill her. And you simply cannot commit that amount of resources. And even if you do that, she has bots, and she probably has buyback.
Yeah, I mean, 35.5 minutes in. Naga on top of the Heart. How much money have we seen on Qualifier at this moment in time? It's a lot of money. 4.9k.
Yeah.
I mean, the straight up butterfly next, and then, well, what are you going to do against the Naga push?
Yeah, it's kind of a... It's not a game that I would look at the scoreboard and say that Team Tinker are winning because of the score. I would just say they're winning because of the hero composition that they have and what time in the game it is. And that's simply all that needs to be said. Is Naga Siren is very hard to beat at this stage.
We'll find Lycan here. Lycan trying to turn this one around, but yeah, he's not going to be able to take down Black at this point on his own. A little bit too tanky. Pops the BKB, but he's actually trapped up by his own army in the Fissure here. He's just got to sit there and take a Death Ward to the face, and it is the Aghanim's Death Ward. He does manage to TP out, but Lycan nearly getting himself killed there.
That was pretty close. Black with a DD. I think there was a couple of misses there, so RNG saving the friendly wolf. And does he even have buyback for this push? He needs a little bit more I don't even know if Tinker are going to go for it yet. They can just get Roshan again. This is cheese too, so I don't know, man. I really don't think aSpera had like even a little bit of a chance. Team Tinker are just not giving them any room.
Really aren't indeed. And Flo sitting here with the Shadow Amulet, just seeing if anyone wants to come out for a bit of fun.
Oh my
and
god, he's got a full Scotty now too. The illusions are going to be unbelievably tanky. Like Zeus is actually pretty good against illusions, but even tanky heroes who just build mass HP, Zeus is also good against. But it's just, it's not enough. Like they're never going to be able to push out fast enough.
Here we go, on to the Roshan. The side of aSpera just staying very close to base Flo. He's found himself a Lycan, and he's just going to sit there, keep tabs on it. Doesn't really want to reveal himself yet, unless the whole team of aSpera walks on top of him. It's going to be a boost to travel in, and Echo Slam just onto Jacko. We'll get Ancient Seal straight away. Yaws up onto himself to remove the silence, walks out of the Mystic Flare, pops the Shadow Amulet again, and Sam messes around a little bit, but ends up just dying. But
his deaths
really
are
matter?
totally, they're irrelevant. It doesn't matter that he's dead.
Doesn't matter.
I love you, Sam, but your death means nothing. Yeah, it's one of those situations where you just commit one hero who's not even necessary for Roche, just to be like, you don't want the other team to have an incentive to check the pit. Like that's the only reason you do stuff like that, which makes sense. I don't even think if all 5 heroes were at the pit and aSpera contested that it would have mattered. I think Team Tinker would have just slaughtered them in a team fight, but it is something to keep in mind that it's a good habit to show at least one hero when you're rushing, so it's not super, super obvious.
Oh, the apathy. Gonna get found here by the Chen army. And we'll get silenced up as well from Black. Does manage to get off the ult, pops the BKB, now turns on to Chen. Chen pops the mech. He really wants to try and find a kill of some sort here, the apathy. He's going to town on the Chen, but Hand of God comes out. He can't kill the Chen. Now could the paralyzing castle. Oh, Thunder God's Wrath does finish off the Chen. But Black finds the kill onto the Lycan. And not worth.
No, not worth. I mean, they even had to commit Refresher ulti there from the Zeus to kill him. And that was with a BKB, was that a 9-second BKB that he used there? And a book and ulti, and he couldn't kill the Chen like before his BKB wore off. So, yeah, that's not a good situation.
The illusions are just chasing down the Scarif. He's down to half health. And
yeah, the Zeus can actually clear them out with relative ease because of Arc and Static Field, because of how much damage it does. It doesn't matter how tanky the illusions get against the Zeus, at least.
Oh, roar onto Black. Very nice. They did remove the Lincolns here with the Lightning Bolt from Zeus and Ancient Seal. With the Mystic Flare, make sure they find the kill. Smiley's actually popped the BKB, and there's, I believe, the first Black hole of the game there, Draskell, holding Black in place. But with Hand of God, he can't even kill him. Death Ward to the face as Enigma has to back up to the high ground. I mean, that was your first Black hole of the game.
Yeah. And it didn't get a kill.
Oh, Echo Slam finished off. With the Zeus dead as well.
Home in trouble. Yeah, I think it's GG. I think it's actually been GG for a while. Yeah.
It's not looking great for aSpera. I mean, let's talk about going into game 2. I'd be a bit surprised if we do see this kind of aggressive lineup come out again from aSpera if it's not worked the first time.
Yeah, it's kind of a one-trick pony. I mean, I guess the Zeus in the late game can be pretty scary, and so can the Lycan, but they just didn't do enough against the Naga lineup. I think the draft actually for Team Tinker...
Oh, they're bringing them fairly low here. Polo die. Oh, we get saved by Sam with the Fisher blocking off the big bad wolf, and Lycan does go down. Now they turn their attention to Zeus. Zeus pops the Bloodstone Suicide. There would be a buyback from the Skyrath, but it's only the Skyrath and the Beastmaster left alive to defend. And yeah,
I actually
it's
feel...
a best of 3.
It is a best of 3.
It's a best of 3.
But I would just like to put on record that I think dealing with an AM would have been a lot easier than dealing with a Naga this game.
That's a good point. I mean, do you kind of feel that they just didn't anticipate the Naga at all?
Yeah, I mean, what they probably thought was, if they have this kind of push lineup, that there's a potential that Team Tinker can delay a game and get a hyper-farmed carry really quickly, and then suddenly that might be enough to where they can get ratted. But what ended up happening is Team Tinker just said, we're not going to rat, we're literally just going to get a hero that completely stops your push in its tracks. So maybe even banning the Shaker or banning the Naga Siren would have been the better choice. But the real issue is they had 2 heroes that were amazing at high ground defense, and even Queen and Witch Doctor aren't bad. Like, they offer their own AoE, they have the Witch Doctor cask as well. So there were a lot of ways that Team Tinker could have stopped the push. But if they had let AM through instead of Naga, the Naga is like the end-all, be-all nuisance hero. The AM can't push 3 lanes at the same time, but a Naga can. So even if the AM is trying to backdoor you, there's a stage at the game where you're going to be able to push faster than the AM's backdoor. And then you still have Blink Beastmaster, so he's not going to feel as confident in pushing out those lanes after a certain point. So I don't know, I think, honestly, Team Tinker outdrafted them because their lineup was much easier to run. Like, it's just like, okay, we get to 25 minutes, we win the game. You know, we haven't lost our base, we haven't lost any tier 2s, our lineup comes to fruition, and we almost can't lose. Like, that's really how I felt about aSpera's draft, is if they didn't just win the game at 25 minutes, they were never going to win.
No, and it was certainly the case. aSpera, they do sack the first game, and the victory goes to Team Tinker. We'll be going into game 2 very, very shortly to see if the side of aSpera can pull it back, or if Tinker can take the clean sheet and go 2-0. With myself, ODPixel and Draskell, we'll be back very shortly. But of course, first of all, to some commercials, and then over to our panel to see what our experts say.